Okay, we're live. Hi, everyone. It's Wednesday night, and welcome to another episode of Getting Candid with Rochie. And guess what, guys? It's season 2. So I'm really excited. So before I introduce you to our guest, I just want to just do a quick shout out to our friend, the Downtown Med Spa in Jersey City. Thank you for being tonight's sponsor. Yes, we do have a sponsor now, and thank you for taking care of my skin and making me camera ready. So, guys, check out Downtown Med Spa, and you're gonna have great deals, which I'm gonna tell you more about it later, or check it on the description box below. So, thank you, Downtown Med Spa. And now, guys, I know that it's the holidays and most of you are still staying home reading. And I know some are having those aha moments that they want to be a writer or they want to start publishing a book, because 2020 has been a crazy year. And for us who were stuck in the house, it's something that, we've learned or along the way that there are some things that we wanted to do. So tonight is a very special night because we have a New York Times bestselling author. Yes, people, we're not talking about a person who sold 10 books, a bestseller. And she's been writing, I think, over 10 books already, around 10 books for young adults. And without further ado, I want to introduce to you an accomplished writer, Miss Margi Preus. Hi, Margie.
Hi. Hello.
How are you?
Inviting me on your show.
Oh, we love to have you on the show. And guys, before we forget, we are live. So for those writers there or budding writers or wannabe writers, you can ask us questions along the way. So just type it in the comment section, either on YouTube or on Facebook, and we're more than happy to answer it. Right, Margie?
That's right.
Okay. So let's get started. I really see. I am like now fanning over. So before you became a writer, what was your background?
Well, I kind of have always been a writer in a way, but I wrote for theater most of my adult life, and I guess I started that very young. But I also taught. I taught writing and children's literature at a couple of colleges here in Duluth, University of Minnesota, Duluth, and a small private college. And so I directed theater, I wrote for theater, and I taught, and I raised kids. And, and when the kids got a little bit older is when I started writing. So I didn't really started writing books and novels for young readers. I didn't really start that kind of writing until I was in my 50s.
Oh,
so it's
really?
not too late, everybody. It's never too late to start.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. So you hear that, guys? She started at 50, just like Colonel Sanders from KFC. You could do great things. No,
I've never heard that before. That's good.
Oh, really?
No, I didn't know that. I guess I didn't know that.
He was, I think, in his late 40s or almost 50s when he started Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Oh.
So there you go, guys. We have some nice inspiration out there. So those of us who are in our 40s or even 50s or even 60s, it's time to move. You can't give up on your dreams, right, Margie? Okay. So you told us about writing for theater. So I assume those are like scripts or the dialogues. Was it harder to do that or doing the novel? Which do you think is harder?
Oh, well, I worked in ensemble theater, so I think that in a way, writing a novel is harder because I have to do it all by myself. And in theater, although I would write scripts on my own, we would always work on them together as a group. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes I just worked with one other person writing. But I did like that, having that opportunity to bounce ideas off of other people. And with writing a novel, I can't quite picture doing that with another person. Um, but it's really helpful to have a writing group, because then you get the same kind of opportunity to, like, what do you think of this? And get some feedback. So in a way, a writing group serves the same purpose for me as the ensemble theater group that I work with. Most of the theater that I did was with a little comedy theater company in my city where I live in Duluth, Minnesota. And so we did sketch comedy, but we also did some plays, and we did live radio, and wrote a couple of comic operas as well.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome. So I guess you're a funny person as well that I don't know.
Well,
This
really,
comedy.
my writing partner is the funny one, and then I'm the big picture. How to put the whole thing together. That's
Okay. Good. I think you're running away from a joke, right? So now, you mentioned earlier that you started writing. I mean, when you were young, have you really wanted to be a writer, or are there other dreams that you wanted?
Well, when I was very young, I think I hope to grow up to be a princess.
Oh, everybody is. Right?
Right? And then in kindergarten, I thought I had the opportunity to become a princess, at least on stage, because my kindergarten teacher put on the musical Sleeping Beauty.
Mhm.
And of course, I just assumed that I would get the part of Sleeping Beauty, but I did not.
Oh, really? You got
No,
the
I
hair. You got
did
the looks.
not. And I was just crushed. So while I was waiting in the wings to come on and play my little walk-on part, I had the bright idea that if I wrote my own plays, I could star in them. So even at 5 years old, I had the idea, maybe I could write myself into the world that I want. And so that's what I started. I didn't know how to write in kindergarten, but I knew how to make things up. So I started making up plays, and then my friends would be in them, and we would coerce our parents to come and watch. And I did that all the way through elementary school. And then in high school, I wrote homecoming skits, and I was involved in theater also in high school and in college too. And in college, I got involved in a touring children's theater company. And eventually I became the director of that and started writing for that. And so I guess I really have written all through my whole life. So dreaming of writing, I probably did dream of writing books someday, and not just plays.
That is cool. So, so ever since it's just something in you, right? So, and then you told me that a while ago that you raised kids first before becoming a writer. How did that process go? I mean, so when you were just working, did you tell your kids, do you keep a journal, or you just didn't write at all?
I'm sorry. I told you that what before I became a writer? I was.
You were a mom.
Oh,
That
I was
you
a mom.
raised, yes, you raise kids. So because I have four
Oh,
kids,
you raised kids. That's
and
it. Yes.
and I have no time. I mean, I try to write, but you know what? We'll talk about your secret place later. But you know, with these kids, because I know writing really takes a lot of time, and I would say quiet time.
Quiet
And
time.
because if you're in the zone, I know you'll be writing. If you're not in the zone, my kids know that. If she's in the zone, whatever, they could be dying, or this one, you can't bother her. But if she's not in the zone, every little thing, one squeak from the floor, and I'll be like, right? So, were you writing back then, or you just stopped? I mean,
Well, I was writing for theater, and
okay.
I think that was a little different because, like I said, I wrote a lot for sketch comedy, and so it was short, short things, and that really helped because maintaining a novel length work in your, keeping that going, and it takes me sometimes a couple of years, or even longer to write a novel. That would have been very hard for me when I had kids at home. And I didn't do it until I started writing my first novel when my kids were in high school, I guess. But I just was dabbling at it, nobody was waiting for it. So, it took me a long time. And I just so admire writers who write when they have children and young children at home. I think it's I just didn't, I did, I wrote for theater, but again, it was not anything long, and it didn't take all my concentration. And what I think is the hardest thing about having kids around is how broken you're thinking. You can't have your own thoughts. you know and I do a lot of my work is just thinking about my story, and so I need time and quiet and not people demanding my attention all the time, so that I have enough time to kind of work through my ideas. But that's me. And I know there are lots of people who hold down full-time jobs and write novels, who have small children and write novels. So I admire all of them very much.
I admire you because it's just, I would say I have attention deficit disorder, undiagnosed one. Or maybe it's the mom brain
Maybe
that
it's that you have 4 kids. I
like
think that might be it.
every 10 minutes there's something else going on. And then at the end of the day, I'm like, what did I do again? I don't know. So
You're raising children.
yeah,
That's
that's
what you're
it.
doing.
That's good. Thank you. Now, can you talk to us your road towards being a published writer? Because I know some people can write. They would try to write. They wanted to have a book published. What were the steps you've had? You went through from a single piece of paper and pen, I assume,
Yes.
to to a book and landing on the New York Times bestselling list.
Well, the first book that I got published was a children's picture book that I wrote with a friend, and that was quite a long time ago. And then nothing much happened. I mean, it was published, and it was another 9 years, I think, before I had another book published, and then it was another 2 after that. And so the book I should probably talk about, because it's the book that launched me into writing books and into having a career as a writer of books, is Heart of a Samurai, which was the first novel that I had published. And that, like I think I mentioned before, it took me quite a number of years, very slow. I would put it down. I was teaching, I was raising kids, I was directing a theater company, all of those things at the same time. So it's not like I could just write all the time. And so let's see, how did it happen? I edited a little book of like quotes and sayings and things with a friend, and we had gotten an agent
Okay.
through that. And the reason we got an agent, here's a tip,
Oh, there you go, guys.
because we had already gotten the attention of a publisher. And so we could dangle that in front of agents and say, this publisher has expressed interest in this book. Because, of course, that makes their job like 100% easier.
Mm-hmm.
You already have somebody. So this agent sent out my manuscript of my novel, and I got lots of rejections. And I I didn't feel great about her. So I was at a conference, SCBWI. If anybody's a children's book writer or illustrator or wants to be, they should just join right up, join that Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. And I was at a conference that they put on in Minneapolis, and I heard an agent speak, and I thought, I like him. I want
Oh, yes.
this. And so I sent him the first page of Heart of a Samurai and a little postcard that said, this is back in the days when you sent things in the mail, paper
Okay.
in the mail. So I don't know, now you do everything is digital, so it's a little bit different. But I sent him that and a postcard that said, I would like to read more, with a little box to check. No, thank you, with a little box to check. And that's also all he had to do was put that postcard in the mail back to me, stamped and everything. So he checked, I would like to see more. So he became my agent, and he sold. He got, he sent it out. There were a few more rejections, but he did sell it for me. But the thing I want to point out about that process, I was continually revising that story during this whole process. So the story that got sent out at the beginning was not the same story that my ultimate editor bought. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it got better and better and better, because every time it came back to me, I would read it again. I would, if I was lucky enough to get some suggestions from an editor, I would take those and think about that and try to incorporate what I felt would help. And so I was always revising during the whole process. And I think that's important. I don't think enough authors mention that. They say, oh, I got lots and lots of rejections.
Oh, yeah.
35 rejections later, it was published. Well, were they just sending out the exact same thing every time? I don't know. I maybe sometimes, but that's not me. So I like to revise.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, and that's a nice thing to point out, because if you like, for those who are, wanting to have their books published and they just keep on giving it to everybody, they always say there's always one who will read it and like it, that will say, I think this is a good story. But then the editing still continues, right? It's not like,
Oh, yeah. Yes, I think it's very rare that somebody takes something and goes, it's perfect, and now just publish it this way. I think almost always there are still revisions to be done.
Yeah. So it's constant writing, guys. don't don't get frustrated when your first, I would say, draft, right? It's better to say first draft of the manuscript is rejected. You can edit it and then send it again or whatever. Because you know what? I don't know, somebody will read it and will like it after what, 5-10 revisions, and it still be edited.
Yeah, well, and sometimes it's just a matter of taste. Some people just like something, or sometimes I think an editor will see something in there and they'll go, oh, I think I can help this author get to this, vision that the editor has. And that happens too. So you just never know.
That's amazing. Now, so guys, have you heard her tips? First off, try to write, and edit and write again. And then have an agent. And if you don't feel that it's the right agent, don't be scared to find a new one.
Yes.
Right? No, because I always say you're working with them. It's your team, right?
Yeah, you have to, I think that there has to be trust, and, you have to feel like your agent is really in your corner and likes what you do. That's important. I mean, I have a lot of writer friends, and sometimes, when I hear them say that their agent said about their work, I'm like, I don't think your agent likes what you're doing. So, find somebody that likes your work. That's key.
Mm-hmm. There you go. And then what else did we learn? You have to have Oh, you know what? I think that's a good one when you did the snail mail. Because now everybody is into email. Most, I would say, probably those who are writing, whatever they are, they could be editors, they could be publishers, or working for the publisher. They get tons of emails every day because everybody wants to be a writer. I think a snail mail will attract their attention. Like,
Well, I don't think anybody does it that way anymore, but that was the olden days, and you put your manuscript in a manila envelope, mail it out. And I remember having conversations with people about postage.
oh,
Like
yeah.
how much postage are you willing to pay, to mail out your manuscript, because it added up, right?
Oh,
Especially
yes.
especially if you had a number of manuscripts going out to different places, and if it was fat, it costs more.
We got the flat rate, right? Try to do
Yeah, media mail.
that.
Yeah.
That is interesting. So now I just wanted to ask, what inspired you to start with a children's book and eventually go to the young adults? Why not other genres?
Well, I think it was partly because it was having children that inspired me to want to write. And part of the reason for that was reading to them. So my husband and I would always read stories before bed, and on car trips, we would listen to audiobooks. And so I was introduced and reintroduced to all the wonderful children's literature that there is in the world, and much more when I had kids than when I was poor. When I was a kid,
Yeah,
we had like 3 books, but
that's
um, there's so much more out there now, and so it was really kind of an eye-opening, wonderful experience to get a chance to read a lot of this stuff, and so I was inspired by that literature to try to write it, and I think that's really what grabbed me there.
that's amazing. Actually, I love that because I read actually two of your books already, which is in the series, The Enchanted Garden. And then when I put it on my review, so guys, if you haven't read it, it's already on my blog. I had the review there, and one of the things I wrote about the book that I'm surprised is that it has a message that I think it's relevant to um, the adults reading it or the children reading it, but it's not, as I would say, is not the lecture type. You wouldn't know. You just feel that you're part of the story, and you would say, "Ah, I thought about that," or "I could feel what she's thinking right now. I know why she's crying," because it's relevant. Other, for me as a parent, I would say, "Oh, probably my teenager's feeling that way."
Mm.
But for a kid, my kids are reading it. My two boys are reading it right now, the books, and they're like, and I asked them, "How do you feel like it?" I could relate on the use of, even the use of words, that they would say it's because these are boys don't like to read. I don't know, they're 11, 13. They're supposed, I don't know, supposedly they're not the reader types, but they actually stick to the book, and then the other one said, "Can I get the second part?" Like this. And which is weird because I know they're all into graphic novels right now,
Uh,
so reading a novel is usually a challenge to them. So when they were like, "I want to read it," because I think they also felt what I felt. It's like I have the values that you want to imply, but it's not. How would I say? It's not more of like a homily or whatever. That this is what I want to say. It's
yeah.
mostly you want to show the feelings of the character, and the message is there, which I love. Actually, I love that, and it resonates for an you wrote it in a way that it would resonate within all age levels. It's
Mm.
not like the children can understand it, the parents can't. It's like they could I understood it right away, and it's a good type of writing, which I love right now.
Thank
Uh,
you.
Okay, now let's go back because you just mentioned to me that you are in your what do you call
I'm
that?
in my I'm in my writing house.
Okay, her writing house. It's not a man cave, people. Now I want a writing house. That's how you call it. So, will you tell us more about your writing house and what's your typical day or schedule is like as a writer?
Right. Well, thanks to COVID, I have a schedule. I before that all of this, you know, hunker down stuff happened. I think my schedule was much looser, but it's good. You know, I feel like it's kind of settled me down and made me realize that a schedule is a good thing. So in the morning, I come out. This is a very small 10 by 12 little house. And uh, I guess it's very dark right now. So I
It's
guess
so
you can't see much of it. But anyways, I have a little wood stove in the corner. I won't bother. I don't have a fire in it right now anyway. But I come out here and I turn the heat up. I have a little electric base for it, and then I light a fire in the wood stove. I live in northern Minnesota. It's cold. Not cold today, but it's usually cold this time of year. Um, and so I make a little fire, and then I go inside and I have some coffee, a little breakfast, and check my emails and get a little lost in social media stuff. And then I come up back out here. And then the idea is that I get going with my writing, and I'm working on a novel right now. So I always have something to do. Um, so then I work on that for whatever until I get hungry. And then I go in and have lunch. I take my dog for a walk. And if I can, I will spend an hour or two later in the afternoon writing again. Often that doesn't work out because life.
yeah.
You got to get groceries. You got to take your dog to the vet. You have to run errands, get new tires. I mean, get some holiday gift things. So it seems like there's other parts of life intrude on the writing time.
So, but I really speak up.
Yeah,
At
I was
least you
just going
got
to say that
your little cave in there.
yeah, my little house. Yeah, it's
Mm,
helpful because when I'm out here, I don't think about the dishes in the sink. I don't think about the laundry. I don't think about the closet I should have cleaned out. I don't. It's like all of that just goes away. And when I'm in the house, I'm sort of faced with that all. It's in my head. I should
yeah.
do. I should do the laundry and clean the bathroom, something.
Yeah.
So.
I could relate to that because that's what I was like telling you a while ago. I'm like, yeah, it's my mom brain. This is what I'm supposed to do. I'm sitting down. I'm supposed to write a blog post. And I said, let me load the laundry first so that it's running while I'm working. And then I just loaded it there. And then, I'm going to my laptop again. And they're like, oh, wait up. There's some clothes that were not folded yet. And then the kids will be like, Mom, we're hungry. And this one, okay, I need to cook and wash it. And then at the end of the day, I'm like, what did I do again? What am I supposed to do? Because for
Yes.
those of you who started working from home, now you know how hard it is to be at home and to work from home.
Yeah.
Because most people say, oh, you work from home. That's you can do a lot of things. Yes, you can do a lot of things except work.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because sometimes I would say, "Oh, look at there's a dent in my cabinet or something. I need to have it fixed." Or like my curtain has, like you see everything when you're in the house, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And
And then you have ideas too. Like, we should change this thing around, or like what we're doing in our house right now, which is getting some new windows put in. You get ideas all the time.
yeah, because I remember that one because when the kids are still in school, I would say my blogging time or writing time is about at 10 o'clock to 12 that time.
Yeah.
And that's when I loaded something I did down. So sometimes I'm if you're like thinking and you're in front of the laptop, I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes you get like a little block or what else did I write? And I'm started seeing, I think I want to change that. That picture in there in the corner. I think I want to change that. Or maybe I'm going to change the couch. And then there you go. What I'm doing now, I'm already online looking for couch, looking for a curtain.
Uh,
Too much distraction, right? But will you tell us the story about that, your writing house? Who built
oh,
it for you?
yeah, yeah. Well, okay. So when my kids were young, we lived in a little house, and I was trying to write, theater. I also tried to write short fiction, and I did write some short stories that were published in journals, magazines, and things like that. I forgot to mention that earlier. And so I used to complain because I had two very rowdy boys, and it was hard to get anything done. So I used to say I need my own little writing house, and but it never happened. We moved into a big house. Now we live in a big house, and just two of us, which is kind of funny, but anyway, that's the way it is. And and then my son, after he was grown and gone to college, decided to build me a little house. So this house was built by my son, who drove me crazy when he was little.
Payback, right?
I used to lock my. We had one big closet, and I turned it into my office. And then I would shut the door, and I put a sign on there: emergency only. Can only get in touch with me if you have an emergency. And then there'd be I can't find my socks. I'm
It's
like,
emergency.
you don't know what an emergency is, kid.
No, actually, I remember before when I said, "Do you need to go to the emergency clinic? If you think you need 911, that's when you're gonna call me.
Right.
But if you don't want the cops coming in here, then don't call me." I remember saying that to my kids. But so they can't find the fork, so it's an
Yeah,
emergency.
it's an emergency. Everything's an emergency when you're 5 years old.
Yeah, now I have two high schoolers and two in middle school.
Okay.
Where's the ice cream? The flavor. I'm like, can you just move the thing in the freezer a bit? It's all the way at the back. And they're like, I can't find it. It's an emergency. I'm like, it's an ice cream. It doesn't go anywhere. It's big. It's huge.
I
You
know.
can
Why
get.
is it our job to find things in the refrigerator? That's always puzzled me. With my husband too. I have to find things in the refrigerator for him because he's incapable of moving anything.
And I use glass containers. Or the ice cream has big labels on the flavor, right? I don't know. But if you put like $20 somewhere, hide it, and they will find it.
That's true.
Ask them, I lost my $20. Believe me, it will come out. They will find it.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of the season right now, it's the holidays. So how would you describe holidays for you?
Odd. I
Odd.
think, I think it's going to feel strange this year. Because I come from a large family, and I have 5 siblings,
Oh.
and 3 sisters, and we 4 sisters all live kind of close together, and we all have kids, and the kids are friends, and so it's a big clan situation usually on holidays, and that's not going to happen. So, and even my youngest son and his partner won't be coming home. So it's going to be kind of quiet. I plan to
Quiet.
do a lot of reading.
Oh, there you go. Quiet time again in your writer's room.
In front of the
So,
fire, I think.
so what's your favorite holiday tradition aside from, having those people, big group in the house?
Well, we always had Christmas Eve dinner for a lot of our friends who don't have family nearby or weren't going to travel to see family or for whatever reason were going to be home on their own. And so we would always have them at our house for dinner, and then everybody was required to have an entertainment.
Oh,
So
that's
people would sing a song or do some funny monologue or a little game or something, and it was always that's always a lot of fun. But that's not going to happen this year either. So um, I
maybe you
think
can do it through Zoom.
Zoom. Yeah, actually, my book club is doing that exact thing tomorrow night.
Oh, that will see. I told you, technology
Yeah.
helps, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So now, will you invite our viewers about your new books? You can share it now.
Yes. Okay. Well, the book that you were talking about that your sons read, I think was the first in the series. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Enchantment Lake mystery series.
Mm-hmm. There we go.
Enchantment Lake is the first book, and Francie Fry is well, she's not really a detective, even though her great aunts keep telling people that she is. But she ends up being kind of a detective, kind of a Nancy Drew type, but in the North Woods of Minnesota. She goes to visit her great aunts at their lake cabin on a northern Minnesota lake, and she has all kinds of adventures there and solves several murders
Mm-hmm.
in the first book. And she decides to stay. She's from New York City originally, and she goes to an art school. She has been involved in theater and auditioned for, well, she was actually on a Disney television show, short lived, in which she played a detective. That's why her aunts tell everyone she is one. So she stays and she goes to school her senior year at in a little town in northern Minnesota. If you, you just picture very
I I love it.
the exact opposite of New York City.
I know.
And so this book, the second in the series, The Clue in the Trees, takes place in the fall, and there's another murder.
Another
What do
one.
you? And she has to solve. And the third book, The Silver Box, which is the one that just came out in October, and this one takes place between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So it's a great Christmas story. It's got all the snow and ice and thin ice and drama and high speed cross country ski chase and such
Uh-huh.
things.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Actually, I love snow, but we haven't had much snow here in Jersey. So I know in Minnesota they said it's always cold. It has to snow, so it's really, I'd say, oh, I love that, the woods and everything. But you know what? I'm surprised. My that now I realize, because after reading the books and you mentioned it, there's too there's so much murders going on. Maybe that's why my boys are into it.
No.
They wanted to know who killed who, right? But mind you guys, these are young adult books, so it's not gross. So don't be scared. It's good for, I would say my 11-year-old likes it. And I know we don't, it's actually, if you put it in a movie, it's really a PG rating. It's not even PG-13. It has nice in there. No, because I know some books can be really through the roof and scary. So these are
Yeah, these
really,
are, yeah, the any murder that takes place off screen. So we don't there isn't it's not bloody or gory or anything like that. It's a sort of, they say that they call cozy mysteries, uh,
mhm.
ones that aren't gruesome or dark. And yeah, no, I wanted to make it really accessible, like the Nancy Drew stories were for me.
Yes.
And I think I read those when I was like 10 years old. So, 10, 11. And so that's kind of what I had in my mind as that age. And I wanted it to just be something that you could curl up with in a, uh, easy chair and just kind of while away a couple hours and have a
Mhm.
good time. They're very specific to the place, but I think that almost everybody has had some, can relate to, the vacation land places where you go
Mhm.
boating and swimming and fishing and berry picking, and in the fall there's, you know, the fall color and and Halloween parties, and in the wintertime and there's skiing and sledding and ice skating. I don't know. Yes, I do have ice skating in it, which is something I did today. I just want to bring up.
Oh,
the,
you
the the lakes here have frozen just like glass, and there isn't snow yet. Well, there's a little snow, but the lakes froze after we got snow. And so there's no snow on the lake, and you can just skate. You can skate forever. It's a very magical little window of time between when the lakes freeze and when it snows. So you have to get out there, get out on the lakes, and do some skating.
Yeah, which remind me, I was about to tell you we had our first snow here in Jersey today, but I know you don't consider it snow because it didn't stick at all. But we just had flurries, and we're like, yes, and the kids were like, it's December, it's snowing, and I'm like, yeah, because we hadn't had much snow in a while. But when you say snow, I know it's probably in your side of, not side of town, side of state or whatever. It's
Oh.
gonna be like what, 6 feet of snow?
No, we actually have just very little on the ground right now. So and none in the forecast. Yeah.
So, yeah,
I'm
because
I'm sad about that because I like to ski. So
there you go. For us, it's not. It didn't even stick at all. It's like a little rain, but it's like, yeah, there are flurries. Because I think we haven't had it for the past 3 years. I think we just had one, I would say one snow day. And they're like laughing because they're all virtual. They're like, are we going to have a snow day? So,
no.
no. I'm like, no, you're still there. They're like, the teachers are going to school, so it's a snow day, right? I'm like, yeah, right.
Oh, do the teachers go? Do the teachers go to school and then teach virtually from school, or do they teach from home?
Before they were teaching from home, and then I think on the second marking period, or the second mark, the first marking period, they actually went to school because I think it's more comfortable for them or easier, and that they are more prepared in school. Yeah, I think they're still in
All
school.
their materials and everything would be there, I suppose.
And I think it's the internet connection and everything. And I think maybe it's the focus that they have. Because if you have kids in the house and it's tougher. I felt so bad because I know some of them actually have to have, sitters for their kids because they have to leave. But you got to do what you got to do, right?
Yeah. So everything's so complicated.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and that is so nice. I mean, guys, I'm gonna put the link on her books at the end of this video and the description, so you can check it out. And yes, you can tell your kids to read. Start reading, because I know a lot of parents right now are complaining that their kids spend so much time on the screen. Because they're already doing school on it, they already have to read. So you know what? I think having that paper type of, the real book. Because for me, I love real books. There's something about the smell of the paper and the ink, and then turning the pages that actually makes me feel that get me in the zone and be part of the story. So check her books out right now, and they're great gifts, great stocking stuffers for the kids. And you know what? You're helping them too, because tell them their teachers are asking them to read. So there you go. They will have the evidence that they read, because you don't have to go to the library anymore. Because I love my library, but because of our situation right now, I don't want to touch other things in the library. And we can't go in anyway. They just have like a checkout outside.
Yeah, that's what we do too. Is they just put a bag outside and with your books in, and You go
I
get
know,
them.
I know, right? So guys, just
It
go
works.
check it.
Actually, it works great, I think. But I have long been somebody who goes in and reserves all my books, so I don't have to go. I just always have done that anyway, so it's just
Mhm.
uh, fine with me.
I used to do that because you know we're in, I don't know if it's the same as you guys, but here we have like in the counties, and then the libraries you can borrow from another library and
Oh yeah,
reserve the books, and you can actually get it in your own library. But I'm like, it's traveling. I don't want several people touching the book before, before it reached me. I don't know. I'm having that crazy thing, but it's like I don't know anymore what's going on.
well, you
I'm
could
just hoping we
set the books off for a few days somewhere and not touch them, and then you wouldn't have.
sanitize the book. Spray.
Yeah, you could
Yeah.
sanitize if you're worried. I haven't
Yeah.
worried about surfaces. I guess I just didn't. I think it's probably not. It's pretty
Yeah.
remote. I think that you would get
I
sick
know, right?
book.
This is way just like too much going on. But that's why my boys were so happy when they say, "Mom, we need books." I got books and arrived in the mail. Read it. And no, because usually I would get like cookbooks or like, you know, books for,
Yeah,
they would
for
say for older people. And they're like, you got children's books? Yes. And they're not children's books. It's actually for your grade level. So there you go. Read it.
well, good.
And you can tell
I'm glad it worked out, and I'm glad that they liked it. So
they liked it. Yep.
yeah,
So I'm glad. And I'm very curious about that book. Is it The Heart of the Samurai?
yeah, yeah.
Now I'm really curious about that book as well. So I'm
Well,
gonna look out for it.
check it out in my other two 2020 books, The
Mm-hmm.
Littlest Voyager and
Uh-huh.
oops, Village of Scoundrels. Hmm.
Ooh,
So this one's
interesting.
about a real village in France during World War II that sheltered many hundreds, maybe thousands of Jewish children and teens. And
Oh, that's
all of the
interesting.
characters are based on real people. And
Mm.
I don't know if you know about Voyageurs. It's another Minnesota or, well, Great Lakes. They traveled the Great Lakes back in the 16, 17, and 1800s. Fur trade.
Oh,
Trade.
that's good. You did the research for me.
Yeah, I
I
did a
don't
lot
have
of
to know.
research. I did a lot of research for both of those books. Yeah.
That's amazing. So before we end, please give us some words of wisdom for those who wanted to write or those who wanted to tell a story, you know.
Well, everybody has a story to tell. And I think the good thing about writing is, like I said, as a kindergartner, learning to create a world where I wanted to be. I wanted to uh, live in this world, and or maybe not live in it, but a place to kind of escape to. So I think that's a fun thing about writing. But I think everyone has a story to tell, and I think the way you go about it is to just start and get anything you can down on paper or on your computer if you prefer that way. Um, I like to write on paper with a pen to begin with, and but that's me. But I encourage people when they're stuck to try it because I think it's a little easier. Some paper is more forgiving than the computer somehow to me.
Mhm.
But and not to worry much about beginning at the beginning and going to the middle and then the end. Just write what comes first. You can always add the other pieces later.
Mhm.
That's give yourself permission to just be a little free with your method and the way you write and when you write and how you write and what you write about. Just give yourself permission to do whatever, do whatever you you feel at the moment.
That is amazing. I like that. Do what you feel at the moment because I know most of us are getting stuck in this box, right? And usually when we get stuck in the box, we can't do anything. and I, and, because it's like way too much. It's like what I always told my kids is, because they have to write, sometimes I would say articles or whatever, because it's their grade level. And I told them, just write. Don't think about the number of pages. Don't think about the paragraphs. Just write, write, write as much as you can, and then after that, we'll just edit it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, because one of my kids always have this thing like, I don't know what to write. Yes, you can. I know, because I've seen your work before. It's just don't, just keep on writing, and then eventually things will fall into place, is what they said, right?
Yeah, that's right. I think sometimes it takes just some writing of anything to um, get into what you want to tell. Like it's not going to happen just boom out of the chute. So don't worry about that. Just let yourself go a little bit.
That is amazing. So, guys, for all the viewers out there, just start writing.
Yeah.
You never know. Maybe it's your calling, maybe it's what you wanted, but, you know, be free to write. Get yourself some pen and paper and start writing. And that's some words of wisdom from Margie Preus. And you never know, you might be a New York Times bestselling author as well. So we never know. Anything happens in 2020 or maybe 2021.
Anything can
So,
happen.
yep, there you go, right?
Yeah.
So, thank you so much, Margie. It's really nice chatting with you. I learned so much from you. And everyone, don't forget her books. I will be posting the links later. It's the Silver Box. It's the Enchanted Lake series. So those are 3 books. They're like Nancy Drew, Hardy Boys type of thing books, and that's why I loved it, because I'm a fan of Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys. Like 10 years ago. Yeah, yeah. Nobody wants to admit our age, right? So that one. So it's not just for kids actually, or for teens. It's actually good reading for parents. I would say it's a light reading that will take your minds off the stress of what's going on right now for a couple of hours at least, and it's really freeing to start reading again. So you have all the time right now, so don't forget, read a book, grab a book, and I think you will find something, to inspire you from these types of books. So thank you again, Margie, and thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight at Getting Candid with Rochie. Don't forget, next week we're going to go live again on Wednesday here in the US, and Thursday morning in the Philippine time. So, hope you enjoyed our show for tonight. And if you have any questions, just make sure to post a comment, and we'll be happy to go back and answer them for you. Thank you, guys, and have a good night, and enjoy your shopping. Bye.